Okay, peeps, welcome to the Culture and People podcast. Hilary, in a few sentences, tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, my name is Hilary Wagner. I work for AST here in Chicago, where we're headquartered. Stands for Applications Software Technology. My daughter calls it Amazing Super Tech. We have offices in Chicago, Dallas, and Pune. And we are basically experts in all things digital cloud transformation. So we are busy transforming businesses across the globe.
And global head of talent acquisition. Did we?
Correct. Yes.
Yes. Awesome role. By the way, I would like your daughter to be the official acronym giver for everybody. Like, let's give her the challenge for my company. Build high performing teams. BHPT. I would love to see if she would rename that. BHPT.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She came up with it so fast, and I really like Amazing Super Tech. If I could open my own tech company, that's what it would be called.
She'll do a little trademark by it.
Yes, she will. She's a miser. She absolutely will.
I love it. She's a lot like, how old is she?
She's 12.
Okay, my twins are 10 and my daughter is very similar. Very cool.
Great.
All right. So what is the best thing for you about influencing people and culture within organizations?
It's making a positive change, right? And, you know, I've always been a fan who wants to change the people landscape of a company, right? To diversify it. As corny as it sounds, I want to work at a place where I'm happy and I see happy smiling faces around me at my workplace, whether it's in an online meeting, since everybody's remote right now, or if it's in the office, right? When you see like the stereotypical movie where they're poking fun at corporate life and it's in like a beige office and everyone looks just drowned out in those horrible office lights, that's what you don't want, right? And it really makes all the difference in a person's professional life, obviously. And just like negative experiences at work trickle down into your personal life, positive ones do too. And that's kind of that perfect synergy, right? We're always talking about work-life balance. How do we get there? How do we get there? How do we get there? And culture and being able to have a really great company culture and champion that, it makes all the difference in the world for professional and personal.
Agreed. I love that tie between personal and professional. It's that, I don't know if you've seen this stat lately, but that is now the number one reason for burnout is the blurred lines between personal and professional.
Yes.
It's kind of both are just slowly dragging us down in this COVID era. But, you know, we look hopeful for the future. So I'm curious, I've heard from other leaders that engaging talent right now is a challenge. What are your thoughts?
It is, you know, it's the question of the day, right? How do we engage the otherwise unengageable? It's always going to be an uphill battle. I think leaders at all levels, you know, we need to get to know, like on an employee level, we need to get to know our people. It doesn't matter if you have 100 employees or 1,000, you need to know what you and your people, what makes them tick, right? Like my team, my recruiters, I get to know them. I want to know about their, you know, professional, obviously acumen, but their personal life, not to be intrusive, right? But to get to know them as people. You know, one of my recruiters, you know, he's got a art background like me, and it was just really great to have him share his artwork with me and get to know him on that level. I see a lot of him in me personality-wise, maybe it's that creative streak. And then one of my other recruiters, he's just a great guy, newly married, and, you know, just talking to him, it really does help create that bond. And we also need to give people the opportunity to shine, right? They need to be able to share their thoughts and ideas without worry of being shut down or dismissed. I'd rather hear 100 crazy ideas from people I work with than none at all, right? And it's those crazy ideas are some of the most brilliant ideas, right? Some of them are truly crazy, but so many of them like turn out to be these brilliant ideas that work, right? I've certainly had enough crazy ideas, but you know, we don't want to shut people down. And then, you know, the same with engaging talent. When I talk to a new candidate, I want to get them so excited about AST because I'm excited about it. You know, I worked at a company long ago And in the beginning, all was great. And then there was just a massive shift in leadership and how people were being treated and things that were happening. And I ended up leaving because I could no longer sell the company. I was lying to new candidates, and I felt really like that was unethical. Because I knew they would come here and they would be miserable, or we would probably lose them within the first 3 to 6 months. And it was a tech company, so super hot. They could have massive choices of where they want to go. And that was hard, right? Because when you see good cultures fail. But I think when it comes to talent, you have to be able to stand behind it in order to be an effective recruiter. I mean, unless you're just a huge liar, but I want.
But don't
I
you
want to
think they can hear behind that? Even when having led recruiting, and you and I jammed about this, it's like, you can tell when somebody is concerned. So I'd rather have the recruiter, don't leave when you start to get concerned, but tell them maybe what you do want to see improve in the organization, because don't we all have an opportunity to improve? It's okay to say that. It's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Is that's another thing is transparency with not just your own employees, but with candidates, right?
Yes. Yeah, transparency is a big thing. So I heard, get to know your employees, obviously. And by the way, guys, we mentioned art. To our right, above her left shoulder, that is Hilary's art piece that she painted, which I think is super cool.
Which is why I'm in recruiting.
That's really good. Okay, so get to know you, give the space to shine, and share really the excitement that you have for the organization. I think it's totally true. So what advice would you share outside of that? Is there any, golden sage advice where you're like, this is the top thing, or one of the best things that organizations can do to grow their culture or their people?
Yes, absolutely. Leadership transparency is just hyper critical. Employees want facts, honesty, no BS. That's what people want to hear. You got to share bad news to your team. You're going to have to share it to an entire department. You're going to have to share it with the whole company. And it can be crushingly hard, but at the same time, everyone will appreciate knowing the truth and where they stand, because truth creates loyalty, right? When you get that true honesty from leadership, no matter what level of leadership, your direct manager, the CEO, whoever it is, that creates loyalty. And at the end of the day, leaders can have company events, parties, etc., pushing that whole drink the Kool-Aid type of culture. We all know what happened there. They can give all the rallying speeches and war cries they can muster, but if there is zero substance behind it and real information isn't given to employees, it's just hot air, right? It's just a bunch of fluff, and you cannot create a company culture from that. You can't evolve it for sure.
Yeah, there's one of the good things I hope comes out of COVID is that organizations do see that they can say, I don't know what's next, but I'm figuring it out, and I want you to be part of it. I hope that changed this, like, everything is fine. We have everything figured out, when they can sense, just like they can sense when a recruiter is off, they can sense like there's something you're not telling us. Really?
Yes. And it's also, what you were saying about COVID and saying you don't know, it's okay to be wrong. Yes. I think a lot of people get into leadership roles and they're afraid to say, you know what, I made the wrong decision. I was wrong about that. I'm wrong all the time. But you have to go out there and try, right? But yeah, we're all going to screw up. We're all going to make a wrong decision. CEOs make bad decisions, everyone does, right? It all trickles down. We're all human. That's the whole point of it. And showing that you're human makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And guys, that's psychological safety. You mentioned it before, that space to fail. Same thing when they see leaders saying, I thought it was this, we did that, it was wrong. It's okay. Let's keep going.
It's okay.
Feel like it's okay for me to make a mistake too. And it's not the facade. So, oh my gosh, I love that, Hilary. Okay. So we are talking so much. We have time for just one last question. Okay. How about, what is a top leader or who is a top leader like yourself that you would want to acknowledge even as a potential guest on here?
Okay, that's a great question. So, like I was telling you, I love happy faces and happy people where I work. It's very important to me, and it's contagious. And I would recommend Carl Cutzmode. He is a recruiting leader in Chicago. He founded a company called Talent Rise, and they've grown ever since. They're now part of a larger organization. They're still Talent Rise. And he's just great. He is the most positive person. I just love him. He has got so many great ideas. He's calm, and he literally you can be having the worst day and he will rise you up. Right. And he's the leader that's always rooting for the little guys. Right. He wants success, but in a positive way. He will get somebody, Barry Jr. on the phone just to make their day. And I've just always found him to be just a wonderful, supportive leader, and someone who's perfect for talking about culture, because he's that guy. He used to be my boss. So,
Really?
But yeah, I worked at Talent Rise for 3 years, and he was just lovely. And there was awesome people there as well. But he is definitely someone I would recommend talking to.
What a lovely compliment for Carl. I think whenever you can acknowledge a former boss. I had my former boss on this podcast. She's going to air next week. It was so fun to connect with her. I think it was like something 11 years ago. She was something later. So good for you. I'm going to make this a 2-parter, and we're going to share the second part and just go for the last question because we're so close, Hilary. So the last question of our group is, what is your favorite resource? And take your time. We got time, that helps you advance your thinking on people and culture, whether it's a book or a podcast or a thought leader. Who would you recommend?
Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. That's a great book, right? And I think that, gosh, I'm a Googler. If I want to find out more about a topic, I will Google until I have 7 different ideas on it, right? Because I need all that to form my own. I also, just hearing from our own internal employees at my company, right? It really opens your eyes, and, I didn't think about that, right? We're also busy with our own areas and what we need to do. There's areas that are being neglected that are actually a big part of your job, so it's just talking to your own employees. LinkedIn, I just love seeing like LinkedIn posts from people. I always try and give kind of, with all the job seekers out there now, especially, I'm trying to give tips, just use my knowledge as a recruiter, what you can do, what's okay, what to watch out for, those types of things, as far as job seeking and resume tips and that kind of thing. But just to see other people's just like simple ideas get out there. And, some of the best ideas are the simplest, right? So I take it from all sources. I take it absolutely from people I know in the industry, and kind of just form my own mold into that.
Yeah, I'm like you. Are you high learner strength? Have you ever done StrengthsFinder or Clifton Strengths?
I have not.
Oh, I bet you're high learner. I have a little bit it's like in my top 10, and I'm like you. I'm like, give me all the data, and then I kind of go, this is my takeaway.
That's what I do, right? It's like I've got a Rolodex of all this information, and then I can slow it down, and I'm like, this is what I want.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, have you read Simon Sinek's Infinite Game?
I have not.
I'll let you know how it is. I just picked it up from the library yesterday.
Oh,
so it was
great.
on my list.
Good.
It was on a hold. I was like, yeah, I think I'm ready for some new Sinek.
Yes. Are you familiar with predictive index?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a Maverick.
Oh, okay. It's been a while. I feel like what are the other ones? I feel like Maverick is maybe what I was, but do you remember
There's a bunch. I've taken it twice, and I've been a captain and a Maverick. So yeah, it's kind of, and it was so funny because the Myers-Briggs. I took that, and they take you through the whole thing of who you are, like who your profile would be related to in history. And mine was Leonardo da Vinci, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting.
What are you and Leonardo in Myers-Briggs? Do you remember?
I want to say it's like the yellow quadrant or something.
Okay. In I don't remember the colors in Myers-Briggs, but I'm a ENTJ. So like that.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact acronym, but when I saw him, I'm like, that is so accurate. I'm totally like Leonardo da Vinci.
I'll take it. I'll take it, especially with your art. That's so cool.
Exactly, right?
So cool. Oh my gosh, Hilary. Well, this has been a great conversation. We will include both parts of this on LinkedIn for our video cast and in our audio for the regular podcast. I just appreciate your time and obviously your work for what you're doing for culture and people in the workplace.
Thank you so much. This was great.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Peace and progress.